Welcome back. As we mentioned earlier, House Republicans have just put out their report rebutting any wrongdoing by the president in his dealings with Ukraine in a new report. And that is not the only way Republicans plan to counter the Democratic-controlled impeachment hearings. Republicans say they will do everything they can to gum up the works as the committee weighs articles of impeachment.
They have the majority, and I suspect they're going to continue to run right over us. And they'd seem, quite frankly, they haven't been concerned with what the rules have been too much anyway. And so we're going to have to fight for every bit of ground we get. We won't be like a speed bump. We'll be like a stop stick with spikes on it, trying to put a flat tire on that truck running over us.
Joining me now, Illinois Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley. He's a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, always good to see you. The Republicans have released their version of their impeachment report, which exonerates the president on everything. We've just been talking about it. I do want to read a paragraph at the heart of this. They're saying there is also nothing wrong with asking serious questions about the presence of Vice President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, on the board of directors of Burisma, a corrupt Ukrainian company, or about Ukraine's attempts to influence the 2016 presidential election. How do you argue when the Republicans are arguing that?
It's tough. I just have to deal with an alternative reality. Bottom line, my Republican colleagues, when they live in the president's world, they have to live in his alternative world of reality, and we just have to address that. It's tough when the facts don't matter and when the law doesn't matter. All you can do is speak directly to the American people, as I think we will in the coming weeks as well.
How do you speak directly to the American people when the American people are not everybody's following along with these hearings in real time on C-SPAN? They're getting their news either from social media or they're getting their news from an outlet that skews to one side or another. They're getting their facts pushed through an opinionated sieve. So how do you keep it clear?
As much as you possibly can through your own constituents and through opportunities like this. You know, we grew fond of the expression quid pro quo, certainly Latin, but I think what we try to do now is another Latin phrase, res ipsa loquitur. It speaks for itself. The president's abuse of power speaks for itself. His own words. Do me a favor, right? Plain speaking language, his chief of staff's own language, the testimony that is clear and consistent and corroborating of each other of the cream of our diplomatic corps, that the President of the United States upheld military aid and a visit to the White House to gain personally. And I don't expect that I'm going to convince the president's base. It's not my intention. And I don't know that I necessarily beyond just educating the Democratic base. I think it's those folks in the middle. We learned a long time ago that most elections are decided by a single-digit number of Americans in the middle. I'm speaking to them and anyone else who will listen in a clear method of at least trying to let them know what the facts are.
Do you expect anything to be different in the Senate if it makes it there?
I can only hope that they'll get past the fact that they believe party is more important than country. We're in the 25th anniversary of the Budapest Agreement. This was a commitment that the signatories gave to protect Ukraine when they give up their nuclear weapons. The fact that Fiona Hill spoke so well of this in her testimony, that providing other the conspiracy theories that we're talking about here, given that any credence, as the Republicans are doing, is giving material aid to the Russians, and it is hurting us and our own national security. All I can do is speak to as many Americans as will listen as to what the facts are, what the ramifications are, and hope that the senators will get past their party, the fact that their primaries are coming up soon, and they're worried about staying in office.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to read another portion from the Republican report. They say the Democrats' impeachment inquiry is not the organic outgrowth of serious misconduct. It is an orchestrated campaign to upend our political system, the Republicans wrote. The Democrats are trying to impeach a duly elected president based on the accusations and assumptions of unelected bureaucrats who disagreed with President Trump's policy initiatives and processes. Okay. Do you believe that if you had more time and more ability to call more witnesses, maybe perhaps witnesses that had direct conversations with the president, people like Mulvaney, people like Bolton, people like Giuliani, the people who could be forced to testify under a court order down the line, that you would be able to get more headway in this impeachment inquiry and potentially convince more people that it is the right move?
You know, I'm not sure if I can ever convince people in the core Republican Trump base in this new world. We grew up in a world where
so
people
what
would
do we
say,
do going forward if you can't convince somebody of the facts in front of them? If you can't convince somebody it's snowing out when it's snowing, where do we go from here, Congressman? Does that mean that Washington is fundamentally broken? How do you work with that?
I think it's an issue of polarization. As I was saying, I think we grew up in a world when the people would say, you know, I'll believe it when I see it. And now it's the other way around. You know, I'll see it when I believe it. And the best we can do is push back against that and remind folks of why it matters. There's nothing else left for us to do than to speak truth to the American people and hope that we can build, and I think we can, a majority that wants to move forward and get things done. But to my Republican colleagues, no one forced the President of the United States to obstruct the investigation. No one put him on the phone and said, you're going to call President Zelensky and hold back military aid in exchange for a White House visit, or hold back a White House visit in exchange for political gain. No one made him do that. That was his own actions. Whether they want to call it organic or not, it was wrong. I can't look and say, well, if I can't convince the president's base or the Senate, I shouldn't do this. The bottom line is this was wrong. It has to be pointed out. The Constitution didn't say if the Senate agrees, you should move forward, or whether or not the poll on the Republican base supports you or not. It says you should do the right thing. At least we can sleep at night, look ourselves in the mirror, and think and understand that we're doing the right thing.
Congressman Mike Quigley. Congressman, thank you very much.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.